And New York Magazine correspondent Gabriel Debenedetti joins us. Gabe, good morning. I know you're a little hoarse this morning, but thanks for being here.
Yes.
We just heard Lindsey Graham call this a mistake.
Yeah.
So there are Republicans who are very uncomfortable with what the president said. What's the fallout in general been?
Well, you have a lot of people who are uncomfortable with this. Republicans have said it was a mistake, but most of the president's allies have not said much at all. Democrats have been really raising alarms here. They say that this is essentially an invitation to foreign governments to meddle in the elections, and the president has essentially said, no, we're not worried about that anymore. It's a long way from no collusion.
The president did clarify his position yesterday, but was that clarification enough, or did he just feed more into the ammo to his critics?
It was a bit of a clarification, but he essentially said, no, I would do it even if it wasn't, most of the material wasn't that bad, so it wasn't much of a real clarification. Again, I'm old enough to remember when he was saying no collusion. Yeah. Now he's saying, you can talk to foreign governments most of the time. It's kind of okay.
Along the lines for Democrats, though, did it just reinvigorate those who are looking towards impeachment?
There are certainly those who say this is yet more evidence that this president is lawless and unfit to govern. But Nancy Pelosi, who of course is in charge of this whole process, is essentially saying the majority of my caucus is not there yet. This is not going to be the thing that pushes us over the edge. But there's no doubt that pressure is increasing from the left.
Let's turn to the president's assertion that Iran was behind the attack of two tankers. How serious has this situation become, do you think?
Yeah, well, we don't actually know because the president keeps saying something more is coming, but we have no idea what that something is. There seems to be a divide among his allies, particularly among people in the White House, about what comes next. Mm-hmm. But it's very clear that there are a lot of Democrats and Republicans and international allies that are trying to ratchet tensions down. There are a lot of people who are saying we don't want to go down to a war, go down the road to a war with Iran. And we don't know.
Yeah, for me, this is big because if you attack a U.S. vessel,
right,
that's reason for war. Why aren't they saying how they know it's Iran for sure?
Well, the president says he knows that it's Iran, but of course there's a clear divide in Washington as to how real this intelligence is. Obviously, this is all very sensitive. I suspect that we're going to get a lot more information about this in the coming days, or at least there will be a lot of pressure for this information because, of course, there's nothing that Republican and Democratic lawmakers in Washington are more wary of these days than calls for war, calls for ratcheting up tension with an adversary with so little intel out there.
And Gabe, is there something that they've learned? I know Charlie mentioned the war in the 80s, that tanker war in the 80s. There's something that has been gleaned from that can be used now.
Well, of course, a lot of the intel is very sketchy right now, and so they're just trying to look back at that, but also, other wars that have happened since then, other situations where there were attacks that weren't really clear where it was from. So that you have a lot of people in Washington trying to look back at that and say, well, obviously we didn't escalate tensions to a full war then, or we don't want to do that now.
Right.
Gabe, the official lineups for the first Democratic debate have been set. 20 candidates appearing over 2 nights.
2-0.
Yeah.
Not enough nights.
And actually, some got left out, which is pretty rough. But so what do you think the strategy for the Dems going in here has to be?
Well, it depends, obviously, candidate to candidate, but you have 9 other people on stage with you. Everyone's going to be trying to have a breakout moment, particularly if you're one of these candidates who's not that well known. Yep. There are a lot of heavyweights on each of the nights, the major candidates. But if you're someone who we don't really talk about that much on TV, you're going to be trying to have a moment or something that really makes you stand out.
Is this a make or break moment for some of these candidates?
Absolutely, because they're going to run out of money. They're going to run out of attention soon, if not.
All right, Gabe, rest the voice. We appreciate you powering through.